hello, my lovely Leos. We got your first card for the reading falling out here. This is going to be your weekly reading for, February? Jeez Louise. This is going to be your weekly reading for March 11th through March 24th. We are going to go ahead and pull your cards here for the rest of the week 1 and week 2. Let's take a look. All right. So, Leo, a lot of what I'm seeing here right now is anxiety, a lot of self-doubt. I feel like there is a lot going on for you, and it's causing you to have a lot of problems within your mind, your thinking processes. You may feel at this time as if things are not being very clear. You may feel very clouded mentally, like you can't think straight. And you also feel, I just really see here that there's a lot of, not just like self-doubt and not just anxiety, but a lot of exhaustion. Almost as if you've been trying very, very hard to make things happen a certain way, and things are just not working out. So I want to start off by saying, Leo, I feel for you. If I could, I would give you a very big hug through the screen. Give you like a big old hug, because this is a lot of just very tough emotions to be dealing with within yourself. We are going to go ahead and get started with your first card, the one that came out while we were shuffling here. On Monday the 11th here, Leo, you start off with the 8 of Cups. And this is thinking about whether or not something was worth it. This is looking back on I feel like this is your recent past. Looking back on something that happened recently and wondering, was it worth it? Have I put in all this time, effort, and energy into this thing and gotten a return back from it? Cups are specifically emotions. They're specifically the feelings within us that we feel. And so, you may be struggling with the feelings associated with this thing. You may feel as though whatever it was that you put into emotionally, you may feel as though it didn't give you a return back from it. Almost as if you are giving to this thing more than it is giving back to you, more than you are taking from it. And you're wondering if it was worth it. If moving into this thing or making this decision was worth it emotionally for you. So let's keep going. We'll figure out what it is specifically. I feel like this is more just thinking about your path, your life in general, and the decisions that you've made recently. Your next card here on Tuesday, the 12th, is the 8 of Pentacles in reverse. So this signals a lack of creativity, a lack of building. The 8 of Pentacles is the practice that we put in towards mastery, towards completing something. And, as we said, this is a lack of creativity. So if you are someone who is a creative person, maybe you make your living through art or through self-expression in a way, art physically, with yoga, or if you're like a fitness instructor, the ways that we express ourselves, music, dance, anything like that. The 8 of Pentacles says that you're feeling very distant from those things, those forms of self-expression right now. Especially, we had the 8 of Cups previously and the 8 of Pentacles. These are both 8s. Actually, whoa, okay. Your next card after that is actually the 8 of Swords. So you have 3 8s in a row, 8, 8, 8. I don't know if that's a angel number for some of you, but keep that in mind. With the 8 of Pentacles in reverse, though, what you have put into creatively, what you have been trying to build for yourself, thinking on whether or not it was even worth it for you, whether or not this thing was worth it emotionally, whether you got a good return back from it. It makes you not want to keep building, not want to keep going, because if it wasn't worth it, what's the point in putting in all this work? What's the point in trying to build this thing if really at the end of the day it's just going to leave you more drained than fulfilled, And especially with art, art is a form of self-expression. We put little pieces of ourselves into everything that we create. And so it can be really daunting, especially if you're making your living off of your creativity, such as, as we said, art, music, dance, whatever the case may be for some of you. Other forms of art that maybe I haven't mentioned. But it's really hard to move into a space of self expression when you feel so emotionally drained. And it's kind of a messy area to be in because oftentimes the best answer for when we feel down or depressed or like we can't create is to just go ahead and do it anyway. To go ahead and create, even if we're not feeling fulfilled, because it's better to create and get something out there and express what we are feeling than it is to keep it bottled up because we're worried about maintaining this level of perfection with our art. It's better to make bad art than perfect art because no art is ever going to be perfect, right? Because we are imperfect beings. And if art is a form of expression of the self, well, then you can't express perfection from an imperfect self, right? And, perfect and imperfect, it's like we're perfect, made exactly the way we are, but our perfection includes imperfection. So, it's a weird spot to be in, but sometimes the answer for this lack of creativity is to try to create, although I feel like it's more that you are so worried about the perception of others just based on your other cards here within your reading. I feel like a lot of that lack of desire to express yourself is actually coming from a place of anxiety about the way things would be perceived or the way that others are perceiving or viewing your work. Maybe you had a bunch of critics lately that have kind of just like stomped your feelings in the mud a little bit. Let's move on to your next card here. You have the Eight of Swords. And as we said, you had 3 eights, so this is your third 8, the Eight of Swords here. This is self-imposed restriction. And we're going to bring this card up so that you can see it. When you look at this card, this person is surrounded by swords. They have a blindfold on them. They have, these fabric cuffs around their wrists, right? And so it's saying that this person feels very trapped within their own mind. They are trapped within their circumstance. Not only are their hands, their form of influence, restricted, but so is their eyesight, their vision, their clear ability to picture and see through what is happening and what this mess is. And the swords is kind of like this sense of impending doom or this sense of impending pain. It's like you don't know what you don't know until you know it. And then once you know it, right? I hope I hope that that's not confusing. It's my brain's weird today, okay? But the reason this card is about self-imposed restriction is that in the swords, this person ended up in this place because of their own choices and circumstances. And these cuffs are made of fabric. And when you look at them, they're actually not like fully tied around this person's wrists, right? It would be pretty easy to kind of unwind your wrists from those bindings or to, remove your eye covering and take up one of the swords and use your influence to free yourself from this containment, to free yourself from this restriction. And so that's how come this card is about self-imposed restrictions. It's about, making your choices and especially with this being self-imposed, I feel like, the Eight of Cups, you put into something. You put into something. So this very well could have been a creative project. Maybe you pushed to do this creative project within your workspace. Could be something like a series of videos for your channel, or it could be a series of paintings that, went together that maybe weren't well received by the public or by the people that you were trying to promote your product to. With this project not turning out as how you would have wanted it to, that Eight of Swords is kind of feeling trapped within your circumstances of like, I've already put in so much to this project. I've already stretched my finances really thin to try to make this thing work. I've already, exerted myself and I didn't see a return. So what was the point of it all? If you've already put in towards yourself, put all your ducks in a row, all of your eggs into the metaphorical basket and they all end up broken, it's like, what do I have to show for it? What do I get from this? And firstly, the experience is what you get from it, right? The experience and the wisdom to move forward and to make a new choice in the future. Everything's a learning opportunity. But that Eight of Swords is just that feeling of being trapped. So you made this choice, you have this desire to build this thing with your creativity, and feeling trapped because you don't see a way out, a way towards your creativity again. You know, how do you move yourself out of a rut of creativity? And I feel like, especially for artists, you know, we want to make meaningful content. We want to make meaningful things. We want to make art that touches people in their heart. We want to make music that people want to listen to, you know? And so feeling trapped, feeling like, well, if I don't feel these things, how am I going to express that in my art? If I don't feel connected to it, how am I going to communicate this to somebody through my art? And the rest of your energy for the week, for the first week here, Leo, kind of goes up and down. It's very chaotic. It's almost as if you're kind of like putting into it and then you're like, no, I'm going to stay in my safe space. And then you're like, well, maybe I can. No, I'm going to stay where I'm at. That's kind of the feeling I'm getting, is like trying to toe out and then like, nope, I'm going to stay in my safe space, in my zone here. And then, you know, we'll uncover it. Let's keep going. On Thursday here, Leo, you have the Three of Wands, which does indicate decision. It indicates direction. You know, whatever this thing was, or this project that you are trying to build that, you know, you aren't feeling very motivated or creative with, the Three of Wands does say that you are committed to whatever this thing is. Whatever it is, it's something that's been on your heart. It's something that you've been really wanting to do or wanting to create for a while. And so, you know, you are committed. You have already made steps in this direction, and you want to keep going. You want to see this thing actualized. But as we said, it's a lot of that confusion about how to get there. How am I going to communicate this desire or this, you know, feeling that I want to communicate to other people? How am I going to do so if I can't even communicate it to myself? You know, a lot of that confusion with it. On Friday, Leo, you move to the Nine of Swords, which is that mental anxiety. When you look at this card, you can see that this person is sitting in a very defensive posture. They're in the fetal position, protecting their, you know, sensitive belly and organs area. And so this person, you know, they have all those swords standing over the top of their head. And it's meant to indicate that, you know, your thoughts can sometimes be the most painful or excruciating thing to deal with. Your own thoughts, your own inner feelings. And feeling very scared, feeling very self-conscious about putting this product out there, putting this, you know, piece of yourself out there. Because as we said, you know, art is a form of self-expression. And if you can't figure out how to express yourself, how are you going to express that in your art? If you can't figure out how to communicate what you are trying to do, if this thing that you've put so much work into isn't giving you the return, what does that mean for your future in this space? What does it mean for this future for you moving forward? And so I feel like that Nine of Swords is a lot of your internal anxiety about how this situation is going to affect your future, and also how you are going to deal with it now, how you are going to deal with it in the present space. You know, a lot of these feelings of anxiety, and there's just a lot of mental stress happening within your mind. Leo, on Saturday, you move to the Six of Wands in reverse, Saturday the 16th here. With the Six of Wands in reverse, often what happens is that sometimes we get so scared of our own success that we kind of self-sabotage ourselves to begin with. I don't feel like you've sabotaged this for yourself. Like, I'm not saying that this thing didn't work out because you didn't believe in it. But it definitely is like, you put out this project, you put out this piece of vulnerability. You really wanted this thing to work out. And so the Six of Wands is that feeling of failure, a feeling of like, this thing didn't work out the way I intended it. This thing didn't work out, and now I feel like a loser. I feel like I didn't do what I was supposed to do. I feel like, I tried my best, it didn't work, and so, maybe this thing isn't for me, maybe this thing isn't what I'm supposed to be doing. Leo, I just want to tell you, sometimes things don't work out, and it's okay. We have to take these experiences and we have to learn from it with wisdom. And I'm not saying that you should quit. I'm not saying, oh yeah, this thing didn't work out, so, what was the point? Now you're done. I'm not saying that, because sometimes, it's a weird line to walk of something didn't work out, so do I keep pursuing this, or do I cut my losses and scrap it and move on? And I can't answer that for you, Leo. That's going to be something that you have to figure out for yourself personally. But I feel like, most importantly, it's okay that this thing didn't work out. It's okay that it maybe didn't turn out the way that you intended it. Sometimes we have really good ideas, and when we put it out there, it flops. And it's okay, because that happens. It's possible that your product or your creation just hasn't reached the right audience yet. You might just have to expand the way that you've been doing things. Maybe you have to go even deeper into that and figure out if it's part of your process that maybe needs changed. Maybe it's, not a art issue. Maybe it's an administrative issue. Whatever the case may be, Leo, try not to look at this thing as a failure. Try not to look at this thing as a personal fault. It's not a personal fault for you that this didn't work out, right? This thing not working out doesn't make you a bad person, and it doesn't make you a failure. It just means that things didn't work out the way that they planned. And you can take the wisdom, the thing that you learned from this experience, and you can apply it to new moments within your life. Try not to look at it as a lost opportunity, but a new opportunity to learn from your mistakes and to move and to do something new, so that you can not make the same mistake again moving forward. Again, Leo, don't get too discouraged. Don't be too down on yourself. Don't beat yourself up for things not turning out the way that you expected. And lastly, on Sunday here for week 1, Leo, you have the 4 of Swords, which is saying that you need to prioritize rest at this time. Especially on this Sunday. It's Sunday the 17th for this 4 of Swords here. So making sure that you are resting, that you are recuperating. Actually, I think the 17th. I'm pretty sure the 17th is St. Patty's Day. I'm not sure. If you do end up, celebrating or something for that day, or wanting to get together with friends, maybe take some time to prioritize rest before you do so. Don't overdo it partying that day if you do end up, going out with people. But the 4 of Swords says that you need to prioritize rest. You need to take time to heal, because the 4 of Swords is the card directly after the 3 of Swords, right? And the 3 of Swords, some of you may know, is basically the card of heartbreak, the card of, pain or hurt within the tarot, right? Being stabbed within the back, within the heart. And so the 4 of Swords is the healing. The 4 of Swords is taking these experiences and healing from it. And so, Leo, I feel like you need to give yourself space at this time to feel your feelings. You need to give yourself the space to, process your feelings of disappointment. Process your feelings of hurt with that 6 of Wands in reverse. You need to make space for yourself to process and heal from these things, to rest and recuperate so that you can fully show up for yourself in the coming week. And making sure that you are, first and foremost taking care of you. Because self-care, especially as a creator, is so important. Self-care is one of the most important things that you can do for yourself if you work within an industry that requires your creativity. If you work within art, if you work within writing, if you work within, whatever the case may be that requires your creative process to do it, rest and self-care is the most important thing. You have to put into you so that you can put into your work. And you have to be the one to make sure, it's your responsibility to make sure that you are taking care of yourself. So, prioritizing rest, recuperation. Let's go ahead and move on to week 2. Week 2 on Monday, March 18th. Leo, you start off with the moon in reverse. So this can indicate hesitancy to deal with your deeper inner work. So for some of you, there could be a lot more deeper feelings that are being brought up with this recent event that you're going through. It could be something that is, possibly triggering deeper insecurities or deeper issues within yourself. And instead of wanting to meet this thing head on or wanting to, deal with this pain or this trauma on the inside, the moon card in reverse is a lot of that avoidance. It's that hesitancy to deal with the darker things or the more painful things that we have to deal with. If there is something deeper going on, if there is something more going on, like depression or something that makes it very, very difficult for you to deal with, taking care of yourself, taking care of this thing that you really want, the moon card in reverse is saying that you have to take a look at it. You have to take a look and start to dig into the very, very depths of what it is that's going on within you. Because when you look at this card, I'm going to turn it upright just so all of you can see it real quick. But when you look at this card, right, this is a person who is sitting on like an iceberg. And the iceberg is, they say that you can only see the top 10% of an iceberg, and the other 90% is underwater. The other 90%, the bulk of it, is where we can't see it. And that's a lot like with people. We see just the outward bits, the outward persona that a lot of people put on, and we don't see the deep inner workings of individuals. We don't see what's really going on below the surface. And so, Leo, a lot of what is going on for you, a lot of what is blocking you from moving through this is something that is deep below your surface, that deep internal layer that a lot of people don't see. Because Leos are notorious for, being this outward shining light, but you can't always be that all the time. And that is just, as we said, it's like a persona that people embody. It's just one aspect of the self, but the other aspects of the self are hidden. It's not something that often sees the light of day and sees the world. So, Leo, even if you are feeling resistant to doing this work, I want to strongly encourage you to go ahead and, lean into this feeling, really get curious about it, and, try to make some time if you can to really start to digest and figure out this deeper inner peace that needs to be pulled apart for you. Leo, on Tuesday, you move on to the Seven of Swords here. This card's always an interesting one because I feel like it leans so many different directions with the feelings associated with it. The Seven of Swords, for your case here, Leo, I feel like there is a lot of sensitivity going on. Not in a bad way. I don't want to say sensitivity negatively or anything. What I mean by sensitivity is I feel like you are already so stressed out and in so much pain, Leo, that, you're very sore, very tender. And so things that normally wouldn't bother you or things that normally wouldn't get on your nerves at this time are things that are actually bothering you for once. Maybe on a normal day, under normal circumstances, you can be very resilient. But I feel like the Seven of Swords is saying that your resiliency is very challenged at this time. This card also talks about the things that we hide, the things that we seek to hide from the world or hide from people around us. Sometimes this card is about, taking your power back and taking back your influence and control over yourself and over your circumstances. But what I really feel like, Leo, is that, this is what we hide from the world. It's kind of like, that 90% of what we were saying with the moon card. This is the pain. This is the tender spots that you're trying to keep hidden from everybody. It can seem to come across to people as being inauthentic or not being truthful about how you are feeling or what is going on with you. This is almost like a self-preservation kind of hiding. This is you trying to hide your tender spots because maybe you're worried about how it would be perceived by other people. When I feel like a lot of creative people, a lot of people who put their creativity out there, when you're feeling very low and very depressed and feeling very much so uninspired to create, I think a lot of people just assume that, creators and people who spend their time creating, I think they assume that they should be always happy, right? That they should always be somebody who is, putting out and pumping out all of this work or these things for people. And I think a lot of people just don't understand how much of yourself goes into this kind of creative work. I do want to say that creativity, one of the most important things, as we said, is self-care. It's also about discipline and consistency. And the hardest times for us to practice discipline is when things are challenging, obviously, because, if we're feeling uninspired, we're feeling very, out of control. The last thing we want to do is put more of ourselves into work, put more of ourselves into creativity. But I think with creativity, you have to have that diligence, you have to have that dedication, where even on the days that you don't necessarily want to be there, making sure that you're still showing up for yourself, taking care of yourself and the things that need done. And sometimes, Leo, even being dedicated, I think if you're putting yourself in a place where you expect your best work only in your best space, I would really encourage you to kind of explore the option of, showing up even when you don't necessarily want to be there. What kind of work can you create that, can speak to people on their low days, I think on your low days too here, Leo, that, you could find some impactful work by, expanding your horizons, expanding your viewpoint on what creativity should look like for you in your creative process. And, figuring out how you're going to, trying to maintain a positive and happy persona can be very exhausting. And so I think that, maybe exploring the option of, maybe making a creative piece that talks about these things, being real and being honest about your experiences and the things that you're feeling. I think that, humanity and the struggles that everybody deals with on the day to day, I think that you can actually find a really big impact. So, maybe I would encourage you to kind of explore what your creativity will look like on these lower days. Don't let your lowest discourage you from putting out content or putting out creativity based on your feelings in the moment. And I think, seeing where that can get you, seeing where being open to the possibility of exploration or, greater expression would get you. Let's move on. Your next card here, Leo, for Wednesday on week 2 is the Justice card in reverse. So this is an imbalance for sure. There is something definitely unbalanced happening here. It could definitely be your energy being unbalanced, your vices, if you have specific vices such as caffeine or drugs or alcohol. I would caution you to be very careful about using certain substances within your creative space, not relying on substances in order to be creative, or at least examining and being open to the possibility of exploring without these substances. Examining your energy on how much you are putting into it. You may even find that thinking or stressing out about not feeling creative may actually be causing you a greater imbalance in the first place because you are stressing about not feeling creative. So with the Justice card in reverse, taking time to, make sure that things are being approached in a fair and balanced manner, not overexerting in one area or neglecting a certain area as well. This also, when I see the Justice card in reverse, it also sometimes can feel a little bit like victim mentality. Like things are happening to you unfairly, or things are not happening within your favor. I'm not saying, Leo, that you are in victim mentality. I'm just saying that this card can sometimes carry that feeling of victim mentality of like, woe is me, things aren't going my way. As I said, I don't feel like that's what's happening with you, Leo. But I do feel like some of you may be experiencing this feeling of, unfairness, things not going my way, this isn't what I expected. I put in all this effort and energy into this thing, and now I haven't gotten a fair return, so like what gives? Really searching for the justice of the situation. You put in so much effort and energy, you've invested so much into this project and haven't seen a return, and so it can feel very unfair, very much like the world is out to get you kind of feeling. So let's move on here, Leo. On Thursday, you have the Ace of Cups in reverse, and I feel like you are searching, Leo, especially searching for this thing that is going to be this emotional fix for you. I feel like you really need to get connected with the things that fill up your cup. And I know that sounds kind of cheesy because this is a cups card, but really that's what the Ace of Cups is. It's about doing what you love. It's the flow of positive emotions that happen when you are connected with the things that you love, the things that do fill you up, the things that reignite you and give you this feeling of being taken care of. And so with this card being in the reverse, Leo, you need to reconnect with that. You need to reconnect with the things that fill up your cup. And, that could be, for some of you, that could be forms of self-care, more than just self-care. It's about the things that revive you. So making time to do a hobby, making time to go out and enjoy the things around you without expectation. Instead of going shopping and counting that grocery shopping as your personal time, right? Making time for actual personal time where you can go to a park and read a book by yourself or go shopping at the mall without your kids, right? So making time to do the things that can put into you emotionally, things that can fill up your cup, going on a date night with your spouse, going out and, trying a new restaurant that you haven't ever been to before. Experiences and things that help you fill up your cup, things that connect you to your heart and connect you to those feelings of positivity within your life. Making the time to actually do that, because filling up your cup and taking care of yourself, not just physically taking care of yourself, this is aspects of self-care emotionally. Not just making sure that you shower, but making sure that you have time for free time, for friends, for creativity without expectation. If you are a person who works in a job that requires your creativity, making time to create for just yourself outside of the expectations of your job can often be a very invigorating thing that can, help renew your inspiration for the things that you do. Your next card here for Friday, Leo, is the Emperor. And I would caution you, so sometimes what happens, Leo, is that when we are feeling out of control, when we are feeling like things are moving outside of our influence, sometimes we can try to grasp for control in any way that we can find it. We may find that, we're feeling out of control in one area of our life, so we find ourselves very controlling or critical in another area. The Emperor card here, Leo, I would say just be cautious that you're not leaning in that direction of over control. But this is also, I would say, on the other side of that, Leo, there is this sense of influence about it. There is this sense of control over what you can control. And so, just making space to celebrate the things that you have accomplished, understanding where you do still have control and influence, I think all of that would still be very positive and very good for you to focus on at this time. So, just be cautious you're not leaning into that overexertion or the over control, but also, understanding your influence and your power that you do have. On Saturday, the 23rd here, Leo, you have the Five of Wands in reverse, and this is about taking a step back from conflict. So if you've been dealing with a lot of conflicting emotions, conflicting energy, dealing with a lot of confusion, chaos, disorganization, the Five of Wands in reverse is you pulling away from this, pulling away from it, saying, no thank you, I'm not going to spend any more of my energy stressing about this or engaging with this conflict. I'm going to take a step back and protect my own energy, and refuse to engage with the conflict that is occurring. Leo, taking a step back from maybe your own conflict within yourself, taking a step back from, the conflict of trying to make this thing work, all of it. Removing your influence, removing your control, taking your power back to yourself. I don't want to, not removing your control from, certain things, removing your expectations, I should say. And lastly, Leo, on the 24th here, you end with the Two of Pentacles. This is about balance. This is about making sure that we are taking care of the things that need taken care of, and that we are not neglecting things that need taken care of as well. Because sometimes if we're trying to put in our all into a project, we can end up neglecting other aspects of our life that need taken care of. So the Two of Pentacles is about balance between the two. It can be very complicated. It can be very, stressful trying to spin all these plates, trying to keep all these things afloat. So the Two of Pentacles is just saying, approach it with grace. Approach it with, not a sense of control, but a sense of balance and flow. Understanding that, different days are going to look different. And really just getting back into where you have power, where you have influence, the things that you can do at this time, and the things that you can do to, make a change for yourself. So anyway, Leo, that is your reading for March 11th through March 24th. Thank you so much for being here today. And I really hope that you were able to gain some sort of value from this reading. So if you liked it, go ahead and leave me a thumbs up. Maybe consider subscribing to the channel if you will. And I look forward to seeing you all again next week.